Taurus, a loved one is warning you in your dreams. Family truth revealed in 2025. Taurus, have you ever woken from a dream that felt more like a memory than a fantasy? Maybe you heard a voice you hadn't heard in years. Maybe you saw someone who's no longer alive, but it felt so vivid, so real you didn't want to open your eyes. This year, those dreams are not just dreams. In 2025, they're messengers. They are quiet visitations from the souls who love you still. Especially now, as an old family truth begins to rise from the silence. You've always had a deep connection to the physical world: touch, scent, comfort, beauty. But this year, something more subtle is calling you. Through symbols, dreams, and strange timing, your spirit is being asked to listen beyond logic. A long-guarded truth is coming forward, not to hurt you but to release you. And if your heart stirred reading this, if a familiar name or image rose to the surface, know this is not a coincidence. Something in your spirit has already sensed it. And this space, this circle we've created together, is here to help you walk through that door. So if you're ready, Taurus, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe. Not just to follow a channel, but to stay connected to the voice of your own soul. What you're about to uncover could change how you see your family and how you see yourself. Shall we begin? Gate 1: Messages through Dreams. The return of the silent ones. Taurus, you are a soul of quiet strength, grounded, loyal, deeply intuitive, even when you don't speak it aloud. You carry memories in your body, in your breath, in the way you linger over old photos or hold a scent just a little longer than most. In 2025, something unusual begins to stir through your dreams. Something you can't explain, but you can't ignore either. First, it might come softly. A familiar voice in a dream. A hallway that feels like home but doesn't exist. A hand reaching out from the quiet. And then you wake with tears you didn't expect, with a heaviness in your chest, or a strange sense of peace you can't quite place. These aren't just dreams, Taurus. They are visitations. You've always had a quiet line open to the spirit world, even if you've kept it private. Unlike others who chase answers in noise, you often hear the truth in stillness. And this year, that silence becomes sacred. The ones who loved you and left too soon, grandmothers, fathers, siblings, even old friends, are finding their way back to you. Not through seance or drama, but through whispers, through the hush of dreams. I once worked with a Taurus woman in her late 50s, an artist, reserved but warm. For decades, she had a recurring dream of a tree near a house she didn't recognize. In 2025, that dream changed. A man appeared. He never spoke. He just looked at her with a sadness she couldn't explain. The next day, a letter arrived. It was from a cousin she hadn't spoken to in years, finally revealing the truth about a sibling she never knew had existed. Suddenly, the dream made sense. The man, the grief, the tree. It wasn't imagination, it was a bridge. Taurus, your dreams this year will become maps. And not just for the past, but for the healing that still waits for you. You may feel confused by the clarity they bring, or overwhelmed by the emotions they stir. But trust me, you are not alone in this. The ancestors are guiding you back to a truth your family couldn't speak, but that your soul already remembers. And you, among all signs, are strong enough to carry this truth with grace. You don't need to rush toward it or dissect it with logic. Just receive. Let the dreams come. Let them linger. Keep a journal beside your bed. Write what you see, even if it doesn't yet make sense. Over time, the puzzle will reveal a picture that was never about the past, but about the roots you are finally strong enough to nourish or to prune. This is not about haunting. It's about honoring. They return not to bring fear, but to bring release. To tell you, you don't have to carry this wound anymore. You don't have to protect secrets that never belonged to you. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to heal. Taurus, this is the first gate of your year. The gate of remembrance. The dream that is not fantasy but memory. And when you walk through it, you'll find that the part of yourself you thought was missing was never gone. Just waiting. Just dreaming. Just ready to return. Gate 2: The family truth. Breaking the chain of silence. Taurus, your loyalty runs deeper than words. You protect those you love without question. You hold space for the unspoken, often absorbing the unhealed tensions around you without fully realizing it. But in 2025, a quiet tide begins to rise, and it carries with it a truth your soul has long sensed, but your heart was not yet ready to face. Until now, Some truths do not come in explosions. They arrive in whispers, in unearthed letters, in a sudden shift of energy during a family conversation. You might hear a story told differently for the first time, or sense that someone's silence isn't just forgetfulness, it's fear. And Taurus, your gift is that you notice without needing to name it right away. You observe. You listen. You feel. But now you're being asked to do more than hold it. You are being asked to heal it. Perhaps you've carried an ache you couldn't explain, an invisible weight that made you feel responsible for others' emotions, or a pressure to keep peace even when the cost was your own voice. Maybe you were taught, directly or subtly, that loyalty meant silence, that love meant pretending not to see, that protection meant swallowing questions you were never allowed to ask. Taurus, that chain ends with you. I once sat with a Taurus man, a gentle father in his 60s, who had always known something was off in his family. There were no photos of his mother's childhood, no stories of her father. Every time he asked, the room grew still. But last year, his daughter, curious and open, did some digging and uncovered documents that pointed to a deep wound, abandonment, hidden lineage, shame covered in silence. He wept, not out of betrayal but relief. The tension he had carried his entire life suddenly had a name, and now he could finally put it down. You see, Taurus, the truth, no matter how heavy, is always lighter than silence. In 2025, a moment will arrive when you will hear something unexpected, or maybe you already have. A sentence dropped too casually, a memory that doesn't match what you were told, a relative whose absence was always explained away, but never fully addressed. And when it comes, you may feel torn between honoring what you've always believed and exploring what your soul now knows. You don't need to confront anyone with anger. That's not your way. Your path is quieter, but no less powerful. You are the one who can say, I see this now. I don't need blame. I need truth. And I choose to let the truth set us all free. There may be resistance. There may be those who are not ready to remember. That's okay. Your task is not to force healing, it is to model it. By standing in calm clarity, by asking the hard questions with a soft heart, by choosing to no longer carry what doesn't belong to you, you create space for others to do the same, in their own time. This is the work of a lineage breaker. Not one who severs the past, but one who transforms it. And you, Taurus, are steady enough to hold both truth and compassion in the same breath. You were chosen for this gate because your soul is rooted. You will not be shaken by what you learn. You will be grounded by it, strengthened by it, and more than anything, you will be freed. This is the second gate of your year. The quiet unearthing of what was buried. The choice to speak what was unspoken. The end of carrying pain that was never yours to begin with. And when you cross this threshold, Taurus, you don't just rewrite your story. You give your entire family permission to heal in ways they never thought possible. You become the still point in their storm. The one who stood up, not to fight, but to forgive. Gate 3, protecting your light. Awakening the inner guardian. Taurus, you are the keeper of peace. The one who stays when others walk away. The one who remembers birthdays, who carries the emotional load of a family, who gives more than they take. Not because you seek recognition, but because that's just who you are. You find safety in loyalty, purpose in devotion, and power in quiet consistency. But there's something that not everyone sees. Your softness is not weakness. Your patience is not passivity. Your light, Taurus, is not there to warm others while you burn out in silence. In 2025, after receiving messages from the unseen and uncovering the unspoken truth in your lineage, you will be asked to take the most sacred step yet, learning to protect your light. To guard the sacredness of your inner fire not by building walls, but by creating healthy, living boundaries. Not as a reaction to fear, but as a devotion to your own soul. Perhaps you've already begun to feel this need, this quiet but growing pull to retreat, to tend to yourself more gently, to say no where you once said yes. It might show up in your body first. Fatigue after certain conversations, anxiety when certain names come up, a heaviness you carry after being around certain people. Taurus, this is your intuition whispering. It's time to come home to yourself. You are not meant to be a container for others' projections. You are not here to hold space for those who only come to take. You are not responsible for preserving peace when that peace comes at the cost of your own wholeness. I once worked with a Taurus woman named Mara, a healer by nature, a giver by heart. For years, she poured herself into everyone. Family, clients, friends. She was the rock everyone leaned on. But no one asked how she was. Until one day, her body said what her voice never had. Chronic exhaustion, sudden illness, emotional collapse. And in the stillness of her recovery, she heard what she had been ignoring for years. You matter too. That awakening changed her. Not into someone harder, but someone wiser. She didn't stop giving, she just stopped giving to those who drank from her but never refilled her. She learned to protect her giving without losing her generosity. That is what is being asked of you now, Taurus. To honor the beauty of your loyalty without sacrificing your light for those who do not honor it. To discern between those who genuinely value your presence and those who stay close only to feed off your calm. You will not need to fight. You will not need to argue. Your silence will say more than words ever could. Your absence will speak for itself. And your calm boundaries will teach others how to treat you. Simply by how you treat yourself. Protecting your energy might look like declining the invitation that doesn't feel right. Like limiting time with people who leave you emotionally exhausted. Like keeping your dreams close to your chest until they're ready to breathe on their own. It might mean letting go of relationships that used to feel safe, but now feel like shadows of their former selves. And you may feel guilt at first. That's okay. It means you're beginning to rewrite a story that told you love meant overextending. That presence meant self-denial. But Taurus, true love never asks you to go empty so others can be full. And your soul? It's ready to be full again. As you begin to stand more fully in your worth, something powerful happens. You become magnetic. Not for the ones who seek to drain, but for those who cherish. The more you tend to your light, the brighter it burns, not to blind but to guide. Not for everyone, but for the ones who are meant to walk beside you. This is not about isolation. It's about sovereignty. It's about remembering that your energy is a sacred resource, and it deserves to be protected with love, not guarded in fear. And Taurus, when you protect yourself in this way, you give others permission to do the same. You model what it looks like to care deeply and still choose peace. To be strong without being loud. To be loving without becoming a martyr. This is the third gate of 2025. The awakening of your inner guardian. The part of you that says, I am here. I am whole. And I no longer need to sacrifice my light to prove my love. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to leave rooms that no longer hold space for your becoming. And you are allowed, Taurus, to rise. Not in rebellion, but in radiant alignment with your soul. Conclusion: the circle of protection, truth, and awakening. Taurus, if you've walked through these gates with me, through the whispers in your dreams, through the veiled truths in your family, through the awakening of your inner guardian, then something in you has already shifted. Something deep, quiet, and powerful. This year is not just about external events. It is about the soft revolution within you. What you've begun is not a chapter. It's a circle of remembrance, where you recognize that your intuition was always right. A circle of healing where long-carried pain no longer dictates the path ahead. A circle of return back to yourself, back to the grounded knowing you were born with but taught to question. You see, Taurus, you were never meant to carry the world's silence on your shoulders. But you were born with the strength to listen to what others could not name, to hold space for truths long buried, and to alchemize pain into wisdom. And now you are stepping into that sacred role. Not out of duty but out of love. In 2025, your soul is remembering what it came here to do. To embody peace not as a performance but as a practice. To love with both tenderness and discernment. To protect your light not with walls, but with roots deep, living, grounded. Maybe for the first time in your life, you no longer need to seek approval. You no longer need to shrink in the presence of others' discomfort. You no longer need to explain what your heart knows is true. Because you've seen the signs. You've felt the pull. You've heard the voices, not just in dreams but in every breath, every pause, every moment your soul whispered, "Come home." And now you have. You are not alone, Taurus. You never were. The loved ones who walked before you. The parts of yourself you thought you had lost, the future version of you waiting just beyond the veil. They are all here, forming a circle around you. Protecting, honoring, witnessing. So as you take your next step, into your relationships, into your dreams, into your sacred space, walk slowly. Walk softly. Walk with the knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, that the circle has held you and now you hold the light. Let the world come to you gently. Let truth be your guide. Let peace be your posture. And when you forget, return to this space, to your breath, to your body, to your soul. Because Taurus, you have become not just the one who walks the circle, you have become the circle itself. If this journey has stirred something in your spirit, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe, not for validation, but for the sacred act of saying, yes, I choose this path. Here at Zodiac Wisdom, we walk beside you, not to tell you who you are, but to remind you of what you've always known. Taurus, your healing is a legacy, and the best is still unfolding.